Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And to my friends in this assembly, thank you for your friendship. And to the chairman of the committee, we have developed a wonderful relationship. And sometimes we spar, and your staff and our staff, but we're a family. And families do disagree from time to time, but generally speaking, we're headed in the same direction. That direction is making America a better place for everyone and solving problems. And so I'm very thankful for your very generous and kind comments, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Speaker. I would just say it's been a real delight and joy to work with the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee. I would have to admit it was a more delight and joy to work with the ranking member of the Energy and Commerce Committee when I was chairman, but that's the way of the world, and that's democracy. And we switched roles and handed off the gavel in peace, and we began to approach issues from a different angle, but with the same mission. Mr. Speaker, as 2020 comes to a thankful close, I think we're all ready to get it behind us. So does my 22 years of public service in this incredible crucible of democracy, the United States House of Representatives. I want to start by thanking my wife of 38 years and our son, who is 30, Malene and Anthony. They have always supported me during my 3 decades of state and federal service, all the campaigns, all the meetings, all the times away. And I know my colleagues will understand this when I say I'll never fully understand all that they sacrificed so that I could fulfill my duty in office, but I do know it was a lot. I also want to thank my terrific staff over the years, and especially those who helped me build and lead such successful organizations, including my 2 personal office chiefs of staff over 22 years, Brian McDonald and Larissa Bounds, terrific leaders both. My executive directors at the NRCC when I ran the Republicans campaign organization, Liesl Hickey and Rob Sims. My staff directors at the Energy and Commerce Committee. You've heard of the late Ray Baum, my colleague dating clear back to the late 80s in the Oregon legislature, and then all the way through just a couple years ago when he passed away of cancer. Mike Bloomquist and Ryan Long also did such terrific work as heading up the best committee in Congress. And I want to thank the professional staff, many of whom have been on the floor today, my personal staff in Oregon and Washington, D.C. We rely so much on these very smart, talented people, and the country is well served by their work. And I want to thank the thousands of volunteers and supporters of my campaigns over the years. We did it together, and I'd like to believe we did it for the right reasons, to leave our state and to leave our country better places than we found them. I also want to thank some important mentors in my life, and of course I'd have to start with my parents who grew up with nothing during the Great Depression. And they taught me the importance of giving back to the community, of working hard, of always being honest, and seldom being judgmental. I want to thank those along the way who gave me some interesting career opportunities. My freshman year in college was spent at the University of Alaska Fairbanks. And I want to thank the folks at KTVF and the old KFRB Mighty 90 in Fairbanks who put a 17-year-old kid in charge of producing and directing the 11 o'clock TV news. I'd never been in a TV studio before, and suddenly as a freshman in college, I was working every night doing that. To Roger Martin and Vic Attia, Gary Willems and Denny Smith, I learned so much from each of you. And to former Oregon Speaker Larry Campbell, time and again you showed Oregon how principled leadership produced real results, and so it was great sport serving alongside you as Majority Leader of the Oregon House. And of course I want to thank the church and school and scout leaders who influenced my life in such a positive way. I'd give a shout out to the late Earl Fowler. He was my high school vice principal and student body officer advisor whose counsel when I was student body president of Hood River Valley High School in 1973-74 was as valuable then as it is now. And I remember one of the things he told us as student leaders, he said, when there is a leadership vacuum, fill it. You see, he expected us to step up and to lead and to take on challenges. And I'm indeed thankful for the opportunity the people of Oregon have given me to represent them in the United States House of Representatives. It is a responsibility I've always taken seriously, and I faithfully tried to do my best to represent them. After all, this is their office, not mine. I was simply entrusted to use the powers bestowed upon it for their benefit, something I never forgot It's part of why I've returned home nearly every weekend and will soon, whenever we wrap up business here, complete my 644th round trip back home. My team and I put special emphasis on taking care of the men and women who wear or have worn our uniform in this job, our nation's uniform, and defended America's freedom. We helped thousands of Oregon veterans and their families receive the benefits they earned and deserve. We worked to strengthen the mission at Kingsley Airfield and opened veterans clinics throughout the community and the district, and we helped save the Veterans Facility in White City. America is blessed to have these brave men and women who risk their lives so that we can enjoy ours in peace. America owes them a debt we can never fully repay. Having grown up on a cherry orchard outside of the Dalles, Oregon, I always had great admiration for those who farm and ranch and feed us. I worked hard to protect their way of life, defending farmers and ranchers from bad policy proposals. And I stood up for their water rights, I protected their land and ranching way of life, and I'm especially proud of the Steens Mountain Cooperative Management and Protection Act and the collaborative approach that it envisioned. Moreover, I supported ag research and water conservation efforts throughout the district, and while we made much progress on both fronts, my one regret is we could never find the key to unlocking a durable and fair solution to the water crisis in the Klamath Basin that could also pass in the Congress. We did make progress to improve forest management, even though I'm disappointed Congress has dragged its feet in enacting much-needed reforms to make our federal forests healthier, more resilient to climate change. It was 17 years ago last week, Mr. Speaker, that President Bush signed the Healthy Forest Restoration Act into law. Hopefully in the next Congress, you all will heed the guidance of our Yale forestry graduate and colleague Bruce Westerman and modernize how we manage this great American resource before the rest of it goes up in smoke. Having spent 6 years as chair of the Telecommunications Subcommittee, I'm really proud of the bipartisan work we did together to open up spectrum for advanced communications, enact FirstNet, our first responders' new interoperable broadband network, and to expand access to high-speed internet, although obviously much work still remains to fully connect all Americans to high-speed broadband. With the Ray Bombs Act, we even reauthorized and modernized the FCC, and as you heard, that hadn't been done in a couple of decades. When I had the great privilege and honor to chair the Energy and Commerce Committee, we took on the deadly epidemic of drug overdose and combined more than 60 bipartisan pieces of legislation into the Support Act, which, while focused on the opioid crisis, actually was much bigger than that and provided support for our communities to help all with addiction. We modernized our mental health laws, stepped up medical research, and fully funded the Children's Health Insurance Program for a decade, something that had never been done before. We modernized the FDA and its approval processes for medicines and medical devices, and thank goodness we did. Some of these changes have already proved their value during this pandemic. And I'm proud to have done my part to help enact Medicare Part D, which finally brought more affordable medicines to America's seniors. While we need to update this law, it is a fact that Medicare Part D has been a godsend to seniors who no longer have to board buses to foreign countries to get life-saving medicines. We also unleashed a cleaner energy revolution in America that created thousands of new jobs and reduced America's carbon emissions too. Energy innovation holds the opportunity for a strong economy and a healthier environment. Mr. Speaker, as you can tell, I'm pretty passionate about good public policy. I've really enjoyed this opportunity in serving with all of you. And I think we can use our resources we have among ourselves in Congress to get good things done for the American people. It wasn't easy to decide to voluntarily leave this wonderful institution, but I'd long ago decided I didn't want to get voted out, and I don't think that was going to happen, or carried out. I was confident I'd win re-election. My health is good, so I leave on my own terms. Feeling good about that which I've helped to improve the lives of those who entrusted me election after election, and I leave feeling positive about the ability to get good policy done right here in the U.S. House of Representatives. In fact, we just worked through a slate of bipartisan bills again today. I'll miss this process, and I'll miss you, my colleagues. Always remember how important it is, the work you do here, and how much the fate of American way of life rests in your hands every time you put that voting card in one of these machines. I'm a big fan of Theodore Roosevelt. His writings have also had an impact on my life. Just as my high school advisor encouraged us to fill leadership vacuums, so did Roosevelt laud those who climbed into the arena. So I close with President Roosevelt's words. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes up short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. God bless you, my colleagues, family, and friends, and may God bless the United States of America, and I yield back.